You already know what you are going to say. Before you have even read the whole message, the answer is forming. Yes, sure, of course. It comes out of you like a reflex, like blinking. And by the time you realize you didn't want to say it, the conversation has already moved on. You stayed late again. You covered for someone again. And when you got home, you sat there wondering why you feel so tired all the time when nothing technically bad is happening to you. Everyone thinks you are doing fine. You are not sure when you started performing that. This probably didn't start last year, or even 10 years ago. Psychologist Ivan Bosormeni-Nagy identified something back in 1973 called parentification. It's when a child ends up in the caretaking role way before they are ready for it. Managing a parent's mood. Reading the room before they have learned to read a book. Nobody assigns this job. The kid just figures out that the house runs smoother when they disappear into being helpful. And the lesson lands hard. Being easy gets you love. Being difficult gets you trouble. So you learn to be easy. And the thing about learning something that young is that, by the time you are an adult, it doesn't feel like a strategy anymore. It just feels like who you are. In 2003, researchers at UCLA put people inside an fMRI scanner and had them play a simple ball-tossing game on a computer. The other players eventually stopped passing the ball to them, and the brain scans showed something that changed the field. The dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, the same region that fires when you break a bone, lit up during social exclusion. Your brain processes rejection the same way it processes physical pain. Ethan Kross and his team at the University of Michigan pushed this further in 2011. They found that rejection doesn't just activate the emotional pain system, it activates the sensory one too. The parts of your brain that register where it hurts and how much are the same parts that fire when someone you care about pulls away. This isn't metaphor, it's neuroscience. So when you think about saying no and your chest tightens up, that's not anxiety being dramatic. That's your brain running a threat calculation. If I say no, they might leave. And leaving registers as something that will physically hurt me. So you say yes, not because you want to, because your nervous system is trying to keep you safe. Therapist Pete Walker noticed something the field had been missing for decades. Everyone knew about fight, flight, and freeze. But Walker identified a fourth response he called fawn. It's what happens when you survive by making yourself agreeable, useful, whatever the other person needs. He published this in 2013, and it described a pattern that millions of people recognized in themselves for the first time. Fawning shows up when the other three options are off the table. If fighting back got you punished harder, fighting doesn't work. If you couldn't leave, flight isn't available. If shutting down still got you targeted, freezing failed too. So the brain finds the one remaining exit. Give the threat what it wants before it has to come take it. And this builds something psychologists call hypervigilance. You walk into a room already scanning. You pick up on shifts in someone's tone before they've finished their sentence. People call it being perceptive. But it's not a gift. It's surveillance equipment your nervous system built because it had to. Here's where it gets really costly. Aaron Beck, one of the founders of cognitive therapy, described a pattern he called sociotropy. It's when your entire sense of worth comes from being needed by other people. And what researchers found is that sociotropic people eventually lose track of who they actually are. Someone asks what you want, and you genuinely don't know. Not because you're indecisive, because you trained yourself to never ask. This isn't just psychological. When you're constantly monitoring everyone around you, your body stays in a low-grade stress response. Cortisol stays elevated. Your immune system takes hits. Research published in the International Journal of Environmental Research linked chronic burnout to cardiovascular problems, insomnia, digestive issues, and an independent risk factor for type 2 diabetes. Your body is paying a tab, your personality keeps running up, and there's a loop that keeps this going. When someone thanks you, your brain releases dopamine. You feel a hit of feeling okay about yourself. But the wanting system in your brain is stronger than the liking system. So you keep chasing approval you can never get enough of. And saying no now costs you twice. You lose the reward and you trigger the pain. That's not a choice. That's a trap. And from the outside, nobody sees any of this. You're productive. You're liked. You show up. So when the burnout finally lands, the people around you are stunned. They had no idea. But you watched it coming for years. Here's something that might surprise you. Researcher Timothy Judge at Ohio State found in 2012 that agreeable men earn 18% less than disagreeable men. That's almost $10,000 a year. Being easy to work with has a measurable price tag, and the people collecting the discount are rarely the ones paying for it. But the research also says something else. Brains change. Kristen Neff at the University of Texas has spent 2 decades studying self-compassion. And in 2022, she introduced something she called fierce self-compassion. The idea that real kindness toward yourself sometimes means setting a boundary that makes someone else uncomfortable. That saying no can be an act of care, not cruelty. The hard part nobody warns you about is what happens next. Some people get angry. Some get quiet. Some disappear. And it confirms the thing you were most afraid of. But Pete Walker's work makes this clear. The people who leave when you stop performing were never there for you. They were there for what you could do for them. If you're the person who says yes, and then lies awake regretting it, who feels guilty when they rest, who can't remember the last time someone asked how they were doing and got a real answer, then know this: there is nothing broken about you. You built a system a long time ago to survive a situation you had very few options in. And it worked. You're still here. But the situation changed, and the system didn't get the memo. It's still running old code. You're allowed to update it. Because what's on the other side of all this fear is the thing you've been handing to everyone around you for as long as you can remember. Some actual peace. For yourself this time. If this sounded like someone you know, send it to them. The people who need to hear this the most are usually the last ones who'd look for it themselves.